John Seacott, executive editor of Brewer. Welcome to another edition of the Brewer Podcast here on YouTube and Spotify. Make sure you're liking and subscribing to follow along each week. And of course, 24 hours a day, your business resource needs can be met at brewermag.com. We are sponsored by Keg Logistics and Square. Running a restaurant is a lot. You start with a vision for something special, but that vision gradually gets overshadowed by the day-to-day of it all. The thing I love about Square is how it helps take some of that pressure off so you can actually enjoy why you started in the first place. When Square steps in, helping you save on food costs, get your menu seen by millions on the Cash App, and get delivery apps payouts faster, it frees up time and mental energy in a world where both are typically in short supply. Square, here for the magic that's not on the menu. Go to square.com/goodstuff to get started. That's square.com/goodstuff. And of course, you can also go to keglogistics.com/brewermag. What does growth actually mean for a brewery once the early momentum fades and the real challenges begin? In this edition of the Brewer Podcast, I talked with Wes Keegan about how his definition of growth hasn't changed, but how the way he leads around it has. As the owner of TailGate Brewery in Nashville, Keegan broke down in our chat last fall for the March-April 2026 cover story why he ignores traditional metrics like barrelage, what it really means to operate in the hard mode, and how decisions around culture, wages, and healthcare ultimately shape the long-term health of the brewery. It's a candid look at ownership, accountability, and what it takes to scale without losing control of the fundamentals here on the Brewer Podcast. This Brewer Mag podcast is sponsored by Keg Logistics. Now's the perfect time to review your keg management strategy. Whether you're seeking a truly flexible keg rental program or intrigued by the seamless distribution freedom of paper fill, Keg Logistics is ready to craft a personalized solution for you, ensuring you receive the kegs you need precisely when you need them. For details, visit keglogistics.com/brewermag. Keg Logistics, modern solutions for keg efficiency.
And I used to ask this question a lot, and I haven't lately, but has your definition of what growth is changed for you?
No, but I do find that I have to educate our team more on what growth is. And so we have twice a year, we have an all-team meeting where we get everybody together, and like the entire company, so it's like over 250 people, and we put them all in one room. We just did it, and we talk about what growing correctly is, because a lot of people have the same perception that the consuming public has. It's like, hey, if you're opening a tap room, you're growing. Yep. But you can open a tap room, spend more than you'd ever make in that tap room, and like you're technically up a unit, so to speak, but you spent so much money, you're never going to make money in that place, right? Like that's why restaurants fail. Everybody's so busy like trying to build the Taj Mahal every time, and it's like, hey, you sell tacos for $7. That $7 didn't build the Taj Mahal. Colonization did, right? Different business model entirely. We don't get to do that kind of thing. So for us, we talk about that the right way to grow is you need to grow your sales, you need to reduce your cost, and you need to grow within the existing footprint, because we have nothing in our business currently that's at capacity. You and I were just sitting in the tap room here at HQ. Every seat's not full, right? We're sitting outside. There's one picnic table taken.
Right.
We're not running the busiest lunch ever. We're open. People are here. You might as well be open. Yeah. But you can grow that void in your business without opening a new tap room. And so that's the big thing we talk about a lot is like, yes, we want to grow. It's kind of like the quality quantity conversation. We do want to grow quantity, but you can't do it at risk of quality as well. And so for this year, we haven't opened a tap room for going on 2 years now. And people are like, well, geez, are things slowing down? It's like, no, the brewery has been more than doubled, right? Like we've done nothing but expand it, but like, it's not a glass, it's not a greenhouse, right? Like you don't see in the brewery, but like the entire square footage of the brewery is full now. And so like we've been doing things where like we went from one silo to two silos, one centrifuge to two centrifuges. We went from batch pasteurizing to now flash pasteurizing. And so, that type of growth isn't visible, but it's required, right? So, I mean, it's kind of a long answer, but like, I think that it's more about growing correctly, not necessarily growing for growth's sake. If somebody called and we had an opportunity to go buy another piece of real estate that fits into a void of like our taproom footprint that would help us grow distribution, because both have to be true, no brainer. And, my phone rings every single day for something. I mean, every single day somebody offers me a piece of property. Usually it's a lease, and so it's an easy no.
Yeah.
But when the right deal comes across, then we're going to absolutely do it. But we've not been void of things to do, that's for sure. We've kept our plate very full.
Yeah. And I think a lot of times the number one thing that someone focuses on is, oh, you guys are growing because you added this much barrelage last year.
Yep.
Looking at the BA numbers every year, obviously it's an easy thing to look at. It's an easy thing to quantify.
Yep.
But it doesn't actually show a true growth or losing growth. And how did you know that going in? That I don't care. If someone asks me how many barrels I'm brewing,
Mm-hmm.
it's always like a dick measuring contest a little bit. But is that something you care about? Because taproom models don't need to have as many barrels. Because you're serving across the bar instead. What are some of those metrics that care to you?
Yeah, so it's an interesting point, because I've said it from the very beginning, right? Like, when I first got into this business, I never understood why small business owners publicly post their barrelage production.
Mm-hmm.
I don't get that, because generally speaking, most of us understand one barrel of beer is going to equal X amount of dollars in gross revenue, depending on what that model is. Even if you estimate down, you can get a rough idea of kind of their financial health.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know any industries that do that, right? In our case, we privately own this business. We have no partners, we have no investors. It's just me.
Mm-hmm.
Why am I possibly going to talk about my personal wealth or lack of wealth? Because it's not hey, here's our barrelage and then here's my total debt to get to that, right? You're just talking about gross revenue, and you're losing the entire context of the conversation,
mm-hmm.
which people don't understand. I mean, we talk about that even in the taproom level, where we used to have a POS system that would just post the day's sales. And I'd walk in and there'd be somebody that'd been working with us for a day. And it's hey, John, how are you? It's yeah, I'm good, man. We already posted $500 in sales. It's yeah, well, we spent $3,000 this morning already in this building because somebody left the door open and broke the AC, right? So that message completely gets lost on the barrelage conversation.
Mm-hmm.
And you're right. For me, I've never understood the value of it. I went to school for finance, and unless you're publicly traded, fucking nobody's posting numbers, right? And when you're publicly traded, you only do it because the SEC makes you.
Right.
And those earning calls are people are literally suicidal over those things,
Mm-hmm.
These days, less is less. They don't give a fuck anymore, right?
Yeah.
Different world. But when I was in school, that's how it was. So what we do care about is we do care about barrelage production, for sure. We do care about our cost. We talk a lot about yield. So we've been investing in production stuff, like the flash pasteurizer, getting a larger centrifuge, where we've got a brew house from DME, when they were good DME, before they became the evil DME, the whole consolidation shut down and people kind of got whacked.
Yeah.
It's an incredible brew house. It's tuned up that we should be able to be running lagers at 95% efficiency.
Mm-hmm.
You still got to do it, right? Our can line should be able to work at 90 cans a minute. If we're running at 40 cans a minute, then we're wasting a whole lot of time, money, and resources. So we measure stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And then when we're looking at barrels in a tap room, we can say pretty conclusively, if we're going to open up a tap room, we've got 8 other examples of exactly how many barrels they're going through each year.
Yeah.
We can account that hey, this tap room's going to go through this many 100 new barrels. We got to make sure we're accounting for it. If we're any good, we're improving our yield every year. You're not necessarily buying more ingredients.
Mm-hmm.
Where our real opportunity is, just on the topic of barrels, is distribution. So in Tennessee, there's not a whole lot of breweries, and then the distributor market, everywhere, was consolidating. People weren't in beer. They tried to get in beer. They don't understand craft beer. They're more concerned with changing laws, so they're profiting off of it and holding brands to see if something just happened to hit.
Mm-hmm.
And if they can just kind of carry that windfall. It's been a challenging place to grow a distribution brand. So for us, that's our number one weak spot, is we don't sell the most in distribution. We're the largest brewery in the state by every measure except distribution.
Yeah.
We're growing quickly because we fixed our distribution stuff. And so that's where the growth has really kind of uncorked for us. And it does make sense for us to pay attention to things like barrels, but it's kind of the growth in corporate or company wide. Are you just growing quantity, or are you growing quality? If we grow 5,000 barrels next year or something, but we are wasting 7, you might as well not grow at all. Right?
Yeah.
I think the other piece too on the numbers conversation is like, I've watched over the years people who do report. If somebody brings in a contract brand, you know, all of a sudden it's like, hey, this wasn't the top 50 brand, and now all of a sudden they just grew 20,000 barrels last year.
Yeah.
Like, I know these guys. Like, you know, you talk to them and it's like, dude, congratulations. What's working for you? It's like, oh yeah, we're making this brand for this store.
Yeah.
It's not the same thing.
Right. Yeah.
So I just think it's like, it's not helping paint the right picture for the industry. It's not helping. I don't see how it helps the business owner at all. Why would I possibly want my vendor to walk in and think that I'm killing it? You know, I want my vendor to think I'm broke. You know, I want them to think like, oh my God, I got to make sure this guy stays in business. Not like, this is the one that I'm going to have pay retail. You know, I want them to fight for our business by bringing great products and at great prices. The last thing I want to do is give them an advantage before they walk in the door. I don't understand why people do that.
Yeah. Is it you said hard mode? Like, what is so hard right now that, you know, you're still able to open, you're still able to grow? You know, what have been those points that you've noticed that you've had to dig into to be able to be successful going forward?
Yeah, I mean, I think that you know, capital is always the struggle for every business, right? And breweries especially, you know, just the stainless steel component is one that everybody shares the strain of, right? And so it's a capital intensive business. And like largely if you're just producing liquid, it's not a very people heavy business, but it is manufacturing.
Yeah.
And so those things alone are really tough. But then once you get to the other side of, you know, the building, in our case, you do have a retail component. And so retail means a lot more people, means a completely different business strategy. And then food is a requisite. And for us, we always did food, but food's a requisite. So, I mean, we're taking one business, we're combining it with another one. You know, I say quite a bit that like the brewing industry is a bad business. I mean, just small business in general is bad business, right? And then the restaurant business is bad business. Everybody knows that. And so we just went and sandwiched them together and said, hey, let's just do both at the same time. And so all of the challenges that exist in restaurant businesses do exist in the brewing business too. Now there's just more of it. And then there's just so many more people, and people create people things. And then you're dealing with the consumer public. So like, that's where hard mode comes in. And then compounded with like the age old challenges that we've always had with distribution, right? I mean, you're not making any money with distribution. The distributors are the only ones in this industry that make money, but they're also the ones that pay for all like the evil changes behind the scenes. So we just kind of like let that sleeping giant lie. That, you know, I think like there's really not an easy component to it, right? I think it's just the need to diversifies your challenges too, or at least the quantity of them.
Sure. Well, yeah, speaking of, you know, kind of just the thought processes that you have towards what the business is, has you started with food, you wanted to own, is it always been that playbook? Like, how did you come up with that mentality going at 2014? You know, to have that thought process that I think at that time everyone was trying to jump into distro, be on the shelf and stuff, which it's nice, it's a great advertisement, but why is TailGate the way that it is?
So I had the unique opportunity that, you know, when I started in this in this industry, I started when I was 21, and so I traveled around a lot. I looked at the craft beer market and all the different cities, the markets that were growing. You know, the Southeast is a little bit behind in most like consumer product trends. Northwestern University put out this study a long time ago that was called like the Midwest effect. And basically what it said was like the coasts and Chicago are about 10 years ahead of everywhere else in the middle of the United States. So like I saw that personally because I moved from California to Nashville. I've got family out here, which is how I ended up here. And when I moved here, people were talking about like cake pops and froyo. And like when I was in school, you know, 8 years prior, that trend already gone. Right? Like it was on fire when I was a freshman in college, but by the time I left, it was like if you open a froyo shop, you're dead. Out here, it was just starting. So I had a unique advantage of seeing that like the market was evolving and the brands that were really growing, you know, taking apart like the business component of it, were the ones that were really reaching the guest. Like people suddenly cared about tap rooms. 2007, people didn't give a shit, right? People really cared about where it came from. They really cared about like freshness. They really cared about seeing that it happened. And, you know, this idea of third space was starting to translate to a brewery. People liked the idea of being able to sit out here, but like it didn't extend to everybody to go sit in a warehouse. And so as I was kind of traveling around, I was finding, okay, people wanted, and they were vocal about it. They wanted food. They wanted a comfortable place to hang. They wanted to feel welcome. And like, it's a consistent model in every single business. And so I think the biggest thing for me is like, I didn't look at craft beer and don't look at craft beer or other breweries for inspiration. You know, I don't look at like the local guys here as competition. I look at them as like the rising tide. You know, here there's a, you know, Zool's coming in from Knoxville. It's great. Zool's hot. We want craft beer and we want hot and we want people excited about beer to go stand in line and like think that they can't get a product. Like that's the best thing that could happen for our market. That's the only thing that I pay attention to. But in every other business, all of those different factors that we've deployed in here, they've already been solved in the wine business. They were already solved in the liquor business. You know, any artisan industry at all that circled around food or drink, they did this kind of thing. So why did beer think that it didn't have to? That was really the thing that made sense to me. And like originally I wanted to do barbecue, and we had a barbecue pit over where that screen is. You know, you can still see like the brick from it. There was a pit there. So I was like, I'm going to do a pit. But we already had barbecue here in Nashville. And we had good barbecue. There was no pizza and beer. So I'd never worked in pizza, but I'm going to go figure out and become a pizza expert. And I did. And like I learned how to make pizza and learned everything it was and like applied all those beer concepts to it of like, hey, best ingredients, best process. You know, you can't cut corners. You can't have like a loose grain bed, right? When you're brewing, you know, you can't short your dough processes either on pizza. And so, you know, having that foundation from beer allowed me to kind of take that inspiration from other industries and apply it to what we were doing. So it's also not unique. I mean, there's plenty of other places that have done this kind of thing and succeeded, right? Like there's Pizza Port, I went to school in San Diego, so there's Pizza Port. Modern Times was exploding and opening other tap rooms. Outside looking in, I would think like, okay, these guys are opening a tap room in Portland or wherever. How the fuck do you get to Portland from San Diego? Yeah, that's forever away, right? So like the distance thing was certainly something that like I did learn from places that have done this successfully in our industry. But like everything, there's no unique ideas, you know?
I mean, talking about you being, you're very forward facing. You like you were talking about this even before we started recording. You want to be out there. You're the face of TailGate. You have your name on the line again because it literally is your company. Sometimes people don't feel comfortable with that. Were you comfortable in those roles? Like, have you had to kind of develop yourself into being that? Hi, I'm Wes from TailGate. You know, like
in 2015, it was funny because like I ran all the social media early, and so like we would post something like, "Hey, we're launching our new pumpkin beer for September" or something like that. Come on out, and somebody would comment like "Go Wes" or something like that. And it's like, no, we, right? Like there's 3 of us here, but we are doing this, you know? And people would treat the business page like my personal pages. And it kind of went that way for a long time. And I started seeing that was happening internally too, where people that came and joined the company and wanted to stay with the company loved working with me. And when we started getting to a volume and quantity of people where I wasn't personally managing everybody anymore, then we started realizing like, okay, we got to make sure that people talk like me, think like me. We have corporate culture, we have values. I don't build culture anymore when I'm not managing every single person. And then you just literally can't do everything, right? So to some effect, like I recognize that in any small business, people really care about who's behind things, right? Like, you know, I don't believe in like naming your business after yourself. I think it's like the biggest self backslap you can possibly do, right? Like there's other words and names out there. Like unless your name's Walt Disney, I don't understand why you'd name something after yourself. So I'm not in it for any kind of like self kudos, because if I could, I wouldn't have a social media. I wouldn't be front facing at all. Like I'd really just kind of like to turn my phone off and like build the next Lord of the Rings Lego set and, you know, play video games, right? And like just go travel the world. Like that's ideally what I'd like to do. But I do also like this part of the job, so I can do it and I enjoy it. And I think craft beer kind of suffered from that for a long time because so many people were just like, well, I'm a great home brewer, but I'm also a scientist. And then y'all fucking weirdos that want to talk about beer, go talk about beer, but I'm not here for that. It's like, no, you got to talk, you got to mix it up, right? And it matters.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's not the worst thing I've ever done because I have to. It's something you have to do for sure. And so we've kind of gone through like a push-pull where it was like, okay, originally everybody recognizes TailGate as Wes Keegan. And so it's like, all right, Wes Keegan's disappearing. And like, I even got off social media because then even like, you know, in like the craft beer heyday that everybody likes to talk about was like, oh man, everything was so awesome in like 2015 to 2019. The craft beer forums were full of assholes too, right?
Right.
And they were fucking savages. Like there's, you know, talk about like the things where I use the example where things have gone wrong, where it's like, hey, well, you shouldn't do that. I mean, talk about like a beer that's like, hey, I tasted this. We should absolutely not package this. Somebody else is like, I think it's awesome. People are going to love it. I'm like, great. Somebody comes in and tastes it and it's like, yo, it's fucking bad. They're going to get online. They're going to talk about how Wes is a fucking asshole, right? And like, he doesn't know his head from his ass. And like, this place sucks and we should burn this place to the ground. And like, Wes and his entire family should be ashamed and all this stuff. And it's like, dude, I cannot handle that. Like, I don't know who this person is, but they're really hurting my feelings. I'm getting off social media. So I did.
Yeah.
And I had other people that were managing social media. And then it started getting to a point where it's like, as we were getting bigger, we were trying to like evaluate what the right amount of like my contributions were. And so we started talking about like YouTube and that sort of thing. 2020 happened and like leadership is visible, whether it's loud or not. And, you know, I had to lead. And so part of like what created the visibility I have today is like the guests needed to hear from me, the community needed to hear from me, and the team needed to hear from me, and they needed to see me. And I've always been a really good communicator. And again, why people like working with me is because I empower them to do their job. And then I also show them that I care. You have to let people see that too. And so that's kind of where it's evolved, where I have to be front facing. Otherwise, you're just this nameless entity. And like, you know, company's cool, beer's cool, pizza's cool, but like, gives a shit. If you go to Sierra Nevada in Asheville, you know, they've built like Walt Disney World, right? It's like, hey, what would you do with an endless budget? How would you build a brewery? They did it. When you do the tour, even the behind the scenes or the VIP tour, the first thing they do is they talk about Ken. Right? And like, I don't know to what degree he is or he isn't involved now. I grew up near Chico. And so like my first beer ever was a Sierra Nevada beer. But I know that for a lot of people, like it absolutely wasn't. And they didn't get a chance to even experience it until it expanded distribution. Right. So like that story is familiar to me. But for other people, I've gone through that tour countless times. They're like, man, that guy sounds like a good dude. Like, he is a good dude. But if nobody told him that, they wouldn't think that. They wouldn't feel that way. The beer tastes better when it's like, hey, this guy's kind of cool, right? These people are good people. Like, that's the value of the taproom in general. And so, like, recognizing the who matters has certainly made it so where it's like, I need to go out and be that who for people. But it is still absolutely very much the brand. It is still very much the team. You know, you asked the question, I think, in our first time talking, like, what are you most proud of? Like, what beer award are you most proud of? It's that the team voted us best place to work because they're the ones that vote for it. They're the ones that make the day a great place to work because I don't manage all of them. You know, same thing at State of the Gate when I talk about this kind of stuff. Like, hey, how many people have I not met yet? And there's like 20 people that'll raise their hand. And there was one recently. It was like, well, how long you worked here? It's like 4 months. Like, fuck. How? But he's working nights and weekends and he's working a different market. And it's not because I'm not there. It's just we miss each other. Right. So that who matters too, but they still need to see and hear the message. And if I don't make myself available, then they don't.
Let's get back to, you know, talking about how people are treated here. How is investing in livable wages, healthcare, how does that help with morale, but also on your P&Ls? Like, that's the first thing that owners are going to look at is like, holy shit, man, like, how are you even continuing to grow if you have so many employees that you're, you know, taking care of?
This Brewer Mag podcast is sponsored by Keg Logistics. Now's the perfect time to review your keg management strategy. Whether you're seeking a truly flexible keg rental program or intrigued by the seamless distribution freedom of paper fill, Keg Logistics is ready to craft a personalized solution for you, ensuring you receive the kegs you need precisely when you need them. For details, visit keglogistics.com/brewermag. Keg Logistics, modern solutions for keg efficiency. Running a restaurant is a lot. You start out with a vision for something special, but that vision gradually gets overshadowed by the day-to-day of it all. Now, the thing that I love about Square is how it helps take some of that pressure off of you so you can actually enjoy why you started in the first place. When Square steps in, helping you save on food costs, get your menu seen by millions on Cash App, and get delivery app payouts faster, it frees up time and mental energy in a world where both are typically in short supply. Square, here for the magic that's not on the menu. Go to square.com/goodstuff to get started. That's square.com/goodstuff.
I mean, again, it's financially short term, it's a bad decision, right? Like, if you talk to, like, there's always like the disparagement of like the bean counters, right? Like, any accountant or any like CFO that's going to come into a business to like build a business for scale, growth, or exit, first thing they're going to do is they're going to cut labor, right? And they'll just do it just down to like what industry standards are. And craft beer is so new and has got such a loud reputation online for being underpaid. There are plenty of breweries that pay well. You know, the smallest ones don't, of course. And I think that's, again, analogous to just about any craft brewery. You know, you see it in like coffee shops. People are like, well, I'd love to pay, but this is a coffee shop and there's not a whole lot of money. Like, that's not an excuse, right? Like, you still need to pay people if you expect them to show up. So I think that there's just like a baseline truth of like, I'm not out trying to win an award of like what a livable wage is or like reset or get into any of like the minimum wage arguments or any of that kind of stuff. It's just the market will tell you what their time is worth for sure. And if you don't pay enough, they will not show up. Full stop. You also lose people. And so if you read like employee boards and forums and like any position, right? There's brewer forums all over the place. They're all talking. Kitchen cooks. I mean, any industry has them, right? They're talking about, hey, I work at this place. I like the place, but the money's bad. What would you do? Jump, right? The general school of thought for the last 20 years has been, if you want to increase your income at any capacity, you have to job hop. Well, sounds like if I'm the employer, if I don't want them to job hop, I got to increase their income a lot, right? Because if somebody's like, well, you know, you talk to like the old heads and they're like, oh yeah, you really need to increase somebody's salary 3% every year. Like, you know, an accountant might say that. Like, this is inflation, you got to do it 3%. But if they're going to jump and they can get 20%, well, why the fuck don't I give them 20%? Why would I possibly risk losing a good person if they can just go somewhere else? Because definitely, if you work in this market and you work here, if you take the resume of, hey, I worked at TailGate Brewery and here's what I did, you can get just about whatever you want anywhere in town, for sure. Because they know we run a good business, they know that we do things the right way, and they know that we really give a shit. So there's a good chance that somebody's going to be worth paying them what they're asking for. So if I'm not proactive in that, I lose that person. So that's a lesson that you learn quickly, for sure. And so we're really aggressive on our wages. Our commitment to our team is we want to pay best, period. We compare wages to like California, New York. We want to pay best. Not best for like West Nashville, best. Again, the context really matters because, you know, early on we'd have that conversation. Somebody would come in, they'd start wagging, you know, a job, and it's like, hey, I've worked here for 30 seconds. I know this guy that's been doing this for 30 years, and he's making $2 more an hour than I am. It's like, okay, well, that's in Los Angeles, and he's been doing this for 30 years. So let's try and illustrate, you know, some growth that gets you to that point. And so, like, we started adopting models. Like Costco has an incredible model where, like, if you're going to work, you know, grocery or something like that, you get paid best at Costco, right? Everybody understands that. So it's like, okay, cool. They also figured out raises. And so they've got this program that we've adopted. Every 6 months, hours equivalent, you get a raise. And it's based on your merit. It's up to, you know, if you're an hourly team member, you get $1 or you get 50 cents. It's based on your merit. We expect it to be $1. And so if you're somebody that's making $22 or $20 an hour, in 12 months, you've got a full 10% raise. They can count that, they can clock that, they can depend on it, and they're not going to get it somewhere else, right? So we start them at a great wage to begin with. We give them an opportunity to earn a wage and a raise. And then there's always opportunities to jump different departments too. And so we've been able to apply that from an hourly to a salary where it's not quite so cookie cutter, but similar principles. And then we applied it into things like healthcare and stuff like that. Healthcare became a really important one because, first of all, my dad died because he didn't have healthcare. He died young. And I think I was 22 years old. And I got the phone call when he was dying, swear to God, like 2 a.m. Hey, you're the emergency call. Of what? Horrific, right? Best friend. Again, didn't give any money or anything like that, but like absolute nightmare scenario. If he had healthcare, he would have lived.
Yeah.
But he was going in and out of the hospital because he couldn't afford to go see a doctor. He made a good living, but he couldn't afford to see a doctor to do preventative medicine. So for me, it was always really important to be able to say, hey, if I can help that in any regard, we have to.
Yeah.
I personally think it's the job of the government to be able to apply the same as we have, in other parts of the world that are more advanced societies. They've got to figure it out everywhere else. But the way things are here, I can't fix the entire world, but I can fix this little bubble that I do control, right?
Yeah.
And so then we started launching 100% healthcare, single most expensive thing we've ever done. And we learned quickly like how it works and how it doesn't, right? The healthcare industry requires you to work a certain number of hours. It takes a minute for the healthcare to turn on. And so as we were trying to navigate that, we looked at Whole Foods pre-Amazon because they had the same reputation, but their reputation was low wages, great benefits. So it's like, okay, well, what if we pay attention to what they did correctly with their benefits program? And we talked to people who were like our current CMG rep, for example. He ran the beer department for Amazon. And then his mom was like a bigwig for, not Amazon, pardon me, Whole Foods. And his mom was a bigwig there too, pre-Amazon. Tell me everything about how things worked there. And so we started kind of crowdsourcing that and then piecing together different types of programs from businesses that were similarly well regarded with great benefits. How can we apply that here? And we initially tried forcing everybody to be full-time in benefits. And then there were people that were like, hey, I've got a good music career. We had one guy who's like a legit, he's not here anymore, but like a legit rock star. Like you would know his band, you would know, like the guy is genuinely famous, but he lived nearby and he's like, I just need something to do because like I've got money, I've got time, and I'm fucking depressed. So I just want to make pizza. Like, cool, but you're going to work full time because I'm going to put you on benefits. And we learned like not everybody wanted that. They wanted part-time too. And so as we've evolved, it's like some people fit in full-time, some people fit in part-time. And we're able to kind of like let people give what they want to give. And if somebody wants to be here and they want to grow, we've got that capacity for it. And if they don't, and they just like, hey, this is just a job, but I actually really care about the company too. But at the end of the day, I need to clock off and go focus on like, I don't know, being a 21-year-old person. That's okay too, right? They can. But the expense hasn't gone away by any stretch.
Sure. And you just build it in. Like that's, you know that that's going to be a part of your expenses every year. So it just, you have to functionally know that, okay, does that mean we need to sell more beer? We need to sell more pizza? Like, how do you set those goals then when you are discussing, okay, we know what we have to make at least to be able to break even, I guess, or more. I mean, is it just, you have great accountants, like you have lofty goals. You think that what the goals that you set are, working for what you guys are right now?
Yeah. So, I mean, the growth was a requirement, right? Like we built a really good foundation that required growth. It wasn't like, hey, we're going to build this for one tap room. It's we're going to build this and we have to be able to grow more tap rooms. Like that model was true. We're going to build this because it has to go into grocery. There was no craft beer and grocery when we opened in 2015, like maybe Yazoo a little bit, but like nobody was. And I remember telling my distributor in 2015, hey, I'm going to go put this in Walmart and I'm going to put this in Kroger. And they're like, good luck, son. And I did, like immediately. It just wasn't really a thing out here. And like now it is. And so like we knew that some of those things had to happen to support the expense, but there are certain things, and this is the stuff that doesn't fit when you have an investor group. When I tell an investor group, if you invest in people, you will get return out of it. Like that sounds great on LinkedIn. But what that actually means is that like not everybody's going to appreciate it. Not everybody is going to value it. And like some people are going to come and go, and like some people are going to create problems and stuff like that along the way because it just doesn't fit. There's people that apply all the time that are like, hey, I want to come here. I want to do this job. I have 57 kids. I hear you're going to pay for healthcare for all 57 of them. It's like, no, we don't. We pay for 100% for the team member. And we also have it available. And it's like, well, don't I just get it for everybody? And I don't want to work weekends. I'm not going to work nights, that kind of stuff. It's like, no, we got to fit it like in the ecosystem. And then when we find people that do understand that and do want that, then you start getting that return. And like that took a really long time for me to understand, because like we would do things like our holiday party, and our holiday party was like tens of thousands of dollars, and we didn't have it. And we would just do like raffles and all this kind of stuff. And like if one person said thank you, it was a lot. And like I don't do things for the thanks, but it's like I don't think people give a shit, right? Like I don't think they care at all. But I started realizing like the right people did, right? And like you would hear like little whispers of like, yeah, that was fucking cool. And like, so you'd run into somebody else and like, hey, I know this person, and he was talking about how you do this, or she said this, and like, it's really cool that you do this kind of thing. She really likes working there. Like, okay. Just because people don't come tell you how happy they are, you see it, you find out when they're unhappy, right? And so that's a little bit of an art too. The punchline on all that is like, ultimately that comes out of my pocket, right? That's really the bottom line. Like, there's no lake house because we do healthcare. That's it. And like I tell people that all the time. It's like, I'm not out here just living fat and sassy, because what we're saying is like, hey, you know, we do view our investment in our team as like marketing spend. And so like there's times where people will call us and say, hey, we want you to be the featured beer at this arena. You're going to be on the billboard. Whenever you go watch this team play, you're going to be there. That's awesome. But I could provide healthcare instead. And that's really how like it came down. Like that's where the money came down, was like we went and shopped every single arena and professional sports team in Nashville. And we said, hey, if we're your number one craft beer in this arena, what does that cost? And we just got everybody's budget. And then we started saying, okay, well, what's going to cost us to do healthcare? And then, and this part's funny, is like, all right, well, it's like a few $100,000 to be that brand in all these places where like the visibility does matter. Like it does matter for sure. You're not going to sell enough, but the visibility matters. And then it was like, well, I think it's going to cost us a few $100,000 to do healthcare. So let's do that. Well, it actually cost us over $1 million. So you're like, we missed big time. But again, like my thought process was very Costco inspired, where it's like, it's not like, again, you read it on LinkedIn and it's always like biz speak garbage, like invest in your people and they'll return back tenfold. It's like, what the fuck does that mean? Right? There was a girl on our team that she's now on that director level, and she just started with us when COVID happened. She couldn't get her health care. And I went through and I said, we're going to turn your health care on. I don't know how, but we're going to turn your health care on. Because like everybody's getting COVID, like people are going to the hospital, they're fucking dying. This is like pre-vaccine, the world's ending. It's like, I don't know what's happening. I don't know why. We're open. We're going to make sure you have health care. That girl's still here. That matters, right? And like when you get the team and the managers that think that way and operate that way, everyone else sees it, they hear it, and you can build a brand that way. That's where they give back. And it's not like them saying thanks, right? Like you're not having your eulogy every week to go find out who actually cared about you. People aren't calling you and be like, hey man, you really did a nice thing for me that day. You really just kind of have to do it, and then you have to have the ability to look in the rearview mirror and determine like, are things better today than they were the week before, the year before, and that kind of thing. And that's a hard lens to look through, especially when the costs are what they are.
This Brewer Mag podcast is sponsored by Keg Logistics. Now's the perfect time to review your keg management strategy. Whether you're seeking a truly flexible keg rental program or intrigued by the seamless distribution freedom of paper fill, Keg Logistics is ready to craft a personalized solution for you, ensuring you receive the kegs you need precisely when you need them. For details, visit keglogistics.com/brewermag. Keg Logistics, modern solutions for keg efficiency.